Aton, the god, creates more deities through self-satisfaction, and Isis gives life to her brother Osiris using a clay male organ. Cheops, to fund the construction of a pyramid, sells his daughter in a brothel to anyone who desires her, and everyday people arrange festivals with orgies. Learn about the sexual practices of ancient Egypt and explore what could have been the first adult comic book in history. Sexuality played a significant role in ancient Egyptian life, particularly their mythology. In the stories of the Egyptian deities, the writers reveal various expressions of sexuality in a lively way. Additionally, the physical world was brought into existence through self-gratification. Alejandro Lopez explains in his article, The Sacred Role of Lovemaking and Pleasure in Ancient Egypt, that Aton, the chief deity of the Egyptian pantheon and the creator god, existed alone prior to the beginning of everything. He found himself in emptiness, so he ended his loneliness and made the world and other Egyptian gods through self-fulfillment. From his seed came the initial set of twin deities, Shu, god of air, and Tefnut, goddess of moisture. Aton's semen brought the world to life, and self-fulfillment brought about creation. Additionally, Cairo scholars Mahmoud Hussein and Ahmed Shokir detail in their report, Sexual Life in Pharaonic Egypt, towards a urological view. Another ancient text shows a different version of this story, where God employs his mouth instead of his hand. It's unclear whether this practice was considered acceptable behavior among the people of the time. In addition, this tale also features the earliest recorded instance of autofellatio in history. However, the ancient Egyptians had a tendency to hold rituals for such events. As the pharaoh was believed to be the representative of the gods on earth, he occasionally imitated the act of Aton by annually ejaculating into the Nile to guarantee a fruitful harvest and adequate river flooding. If the pharaoh's semen did not stick to the shore but flowed down the river, it indicated good fortune, signifying that everything would proceed smoothly without any mishaps. Not a bad way to prevent the apocalypse. Additionally, Stephen Tempest discusses in his piece, Why Does Ancient Egyptian Art Differ from Greek and Roman Art in Its Depiction of Sex? About a different Egyptian belief linked to self-gratification. He states, to talk about ejaculation, the Egyptians are among the limited group of cultures to express their deities' masturbation in their religious texts. Specifically, the ancient Egyptians believed they were born from the tears of Horus when he wept, and that the Nubians, their southern neighbors, were born from Horus's seed. But Egyptian myths reveal more than the enigma of self-pleasure. Among them, the saga of Isis, the deity who champions women, motherhood, and the downtrodden, and her brother and spouse, Osiris, who rules over rebirth and the realm of the deceased, stands out as a key narrative. Divine incest was common in ancient Egypt. Shu and Tefnut were siblings, but that didn't stop them from having children together who became gods. In the story of Isis and Osiris, in addition to incest, there are other sexual details. The most comprehensive account is from the ancient Greek philosopher and writer Plutarch, who lived during the Roman period, between 45 to 125 CE. According to the legend in his book On Isis and Osiris, Seth, the god of sandstorms and rage, despised Osiris and murdered him. When he discovered that Isis had discovered the corpse of her husband, he sliced it into bits and distributed them throughout Egypt. Isis ultimately found all the body parts except for the phallus, which Seth threw into the Nile for fish to consume. The goddess created a mummy from her brother's body and used clay to make the missing part before giving life to her husband through it. Researcher Anna Swartz notes in her article, A History of Oral Sex, From Fellatio's Ancient Roots to the Modern Blowjob, that the origins of fellatio can be traced back to ancient Egypt. According to scientist Thierry Legué, this practice was first mentioned in the tale of Osiris, who was killed and dismembered by his brother. His sister Isis reassembled his body, but his penis was missing. A clay-made false member was created, and Isis gave Osiris life by sucking on it. This myth contains the earliest known case of oral sex. Additionally, the Papyrus of Ani, which narrates the story of an honest scribe named Ani and is part of the Book of the Dead, shows a clear representation of this act. It must be noted that the Egyptians documented this myth with their customary precision. This is not about oral sex, but about incest. Pharaohs were often revered as gods and acted as guides and messengers of the gods on earth. Therefore, they developed a tradition of marrying their sisters and even daughters. Ramesses II, one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, married his own sisters and 3 daughters. Until recently, there was a belief that the incestuous customs of pharaohs were nothing more than legends, but this can be verified. Nevertheless, DNA analysis of the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun revealed that his parents were siblings. According to Katie Moyes in her article, Tutankhamun's familial DNA tells tale of boy pharaoh's disease and incest. This study found that King Tut's parents were related, and this may have continued in his own marriage. If King Tut's parents could do it, why not Ramesses himself? When it comes to the sex lives of the Egyptians, prostitution is a topic that cannot be ignored. According to Iwan Bloch in his book, History of Prostitution, and referencing the Greek historian Strabo, the most beautiful girl in Thebes, one of ancient Egypt's capitals, had to engage in prostitution at the Temple of Amun, taking the place of the other young Egyptians. Another researcher, Edmond Dupuy, wrote in his book, Prostitution in Antiquity, that pretty girls offered themselves to temple priests, dedicating themselves to the gods before getting married after paying such a tribute. The priests of the Temple of Isis organized orgies, teaching those interested in sexual arts. The money collected was added to the temple's treasury. Furthermore, comparable instances of wild and promiscuous behavior have been discovered in recent times. Starting in 2001, archaeologist Betsy Bryan has directed the excavation of the temple compound of the Egyptian deity Mut in Luxor, which is the site of the ancient city of Thebes. Betsy Bryan explained in her interview with the Los Angeles Times that these rituals were associated with the worship of the Egyptian lion goddess. The rituals that were unearthed amplified the themes of inebriation, boisterous music, and shameless sexual behavior. In an old Egyptian tale, the sun god is unhappy with the people. He advises his daughter, Hathor, to transform herself into a lion, and she becomes Sekhmet. The sun god commands her to exterminate humans, and she does so disguised as a lion. After a while, her father asks her to cease. However, she has already acquired a taste for blood and refuses to stop killing. The Council of Gods floods the valley's fields with red-tinted beer to look like blood in order to halt her. After drinking it, Hathor becomes drunk, falls asleep, and humanity is saved. The ancient Egyptians celebrated this by drinking themselves into oblivion, dancing, and having public orgies. In addition to sacred sex, Bloch also describes a more practical form of prostitution. Dancers and musicians in taverns attracted clients by offering them wine and saying, "Enjoy yourself, be happy, drink until you're drunk and have fun with me. I won't let you leave until you've had a drink." The customers were entertained with a dance that resembled the belly dance from the Orient. Iwan Bloch provides a portrayal of this dance in his book. Girls in long, transparent dresses twirl at a fast pace while hitting a tambourine with castanets. They wriggle their bodies in a flirtatious manner and willingly expose their buttocks. Apparently, the dance was not viewed as indecent in ancient Egypt, nor is it today. The most stirring tale can be found in the tales of the ancient Greek historian, Herodotus. He retells 2 stories from the Egyptians about the daughters of pharaohs who worked in a brothel. In the second book of his famous History, Herodotus narrates the story of Pharaoh Ramesses, who compelled his daughter to work in an unpleasant brothel. She was forced to solicit the criminal histories of the clients before engaging in any sexual activity. This is how he tried to find the thief who stole from his treasure. Nevertheless, the father of history disagrees with the story's authenticity. However, Herodotus firmly believes in another legend that portrays the events that took place with the daughter of Pharaoh Cheops. To quote Herodotus, "And Cheops eventually became so impious, according to the priest's tales, that he sent his own daughter to a brothel to make money when he needed it. His daughter did as her father commanded, but she decided to create a memorial for herself. She asked every visitor to donate at least one stone for the construction of her tomb. The middle pyramid in front of the Great Pyramid was constructed using these stones, as stated by the priests. An innovative dad, I can't deny. The ancient Egyptians not only engaged in sexual activities and wrote about the sexual exploits of their gods, but they also created images that today are considered very obscene. In an article mentioned earlier, Stephen Tempest discusses the discovery of graffiti inside a cave close to a village in Deir el-Medina, where workers were constructing and adorning tombs during Pharaoh Thutmose I's reign. These drawings portrayed sex in an explicit manner. They drew a picture of sex from a rearward pose. It is thought to show the female pharaoh Hatshepsut with Senemet, her steward and chief architect. Tempest writes that showing them as lovers would be scandalous and maybe even treasonous. It's possible that we're looking at an ancient Egyptian pasquale on the boss and ruler, a deliberately rude picture made by one of the workers during a holiday. The top discovery in this village of craft workers is the Turin erotic papyrus. It got its name as it was discovered back in the 1800s in the Italian city of Turin, where lots of Egyptian artifacts were brought from the excavations. The researcher Lise Manish describes this paper in detail in her book, Sexual Life in Ancient Egypt. If the opening section serves as a parody of everyday life, involving different human situations portrayed through animals, the second part portrays 12 sexual scenes. These depict bald, ancient men engaging in sex with Egyptian women in various positions, using various furnishings and sometimes even a chariot pulled by other women. Here is how Manish describes the papyrus itself and its contents. The events occur inside, and the area contains furnishings for an erotic ambiance. A bed with numerous cushions is in a separate room, along with a floor and stools for additional comfort. A lyre lies on the floor, readily available to be picked up and played while the girls sing during their free time. The cans are full of beer or wine, and a thorough search reveals objects that heighten the expected pleasure. Considering that most people are interacting socially in some way, it is evident that we are witnessing a rare insight into a Deir el-Medina brothel. Nevertheless, Egyptologist Victor Salkin argues in his article, Sacred Erotica of Ancient Egypt. This isn't only an old pornographic scroll, but an illustration of a ritual act. The man's hairstyle indicates that he is a priest of the goddess Hathor with a shaved head. There's more to the scroll than just pictures. It includes writings where the individuals communicate with each other. For instance, one lady speaks to her companion, "I'll make your job enjoyable. Don't worry, what would I do to you? See, come to me from behind. I'm holding back your pleasure, your phallus is with me. You didn't bring me here, lovely my bastard." So, apparently, we have the world's first adult comic with dirty talk in front of us.